Good day and welcome. I'm Steve Featherston. I'm one of the senior sales engineers at Macola Software, an ECI software solutions company. Today we're going to be seeing a demo of Macola ERP and business software. Okay, we're going to start this demo with a brief PowerPoint presentation. We're going to be looking at the most current release of Macola 10. It's 10.7. It was released about a month ago. Who is Macola? Well, we've been around for a while, about 45 years, founded in Marion, Ohio. We've got about 7,000 manufacturers and distributors who've implemented our product, about 1,000 employees worldwide with our connection with ECI, and we really do specialize with distributors and manufacturers. So I like to think of Macola 10 is supported by three major pillars. You see them on the left-hand side here. Core business functions, which is the triangular elements of this pie chart, activity and process management, which are the three interconnecting rings in the center of document management, automation, and workflow, and personalized workspaces. Now, with the personalized workspaces, they're available to you, and you see on the outside ring, either by your laptop, your desktop, maybe a tablet type device, or possibly your mobile device. The first pillar, core business functions, is what you'd expect in almost any ERP system that's out there, is accounting and finance, distribution, purchasing, manufacturing, and then some more modern features of maybe customer relationship management, human resource management, project or quality management. Second pillar to this, I like to look at the whiteboard and back and realize most companies have some processes that are in paper or word of mouth or by email. We like to take those and take them from a paper process and turn them into an electronic workflow. We do this with our workflow engine, our document management system. It involves calendaring and scheduling. It can handle a variety of different tasks. The whole idea is to bring better visibility to your business processes. So we could be taking a task like customer complaint, and instead of doing it in email or word of mouth, it's done in an electronic form that travels from person to person. So with that said, the second element to this pillar is business automation. So sending invoices to your customers, shipping notifications when an order has left, even something simple like maybe checking to see if there's an item that's low in stock and notifying people about them. It is that completes the business automation piece. It's kind of like a watchdog, keeps an eye on the database and what's going on. Third pillar is personalized workspaces. As I mentioned, they're available on your desktop, they're available on a mobile device, they are configurable by the end user. The whole idea is to give you a more intuitive way to navigate. Now, some people may want a process flow that takes them from step 1 to step 5. Others may be looking for metrics or KPIs, be able to drill into those and make decisions on them. The whole idea is to create a more natural ERP experience with these workspaces. Last piece of this is mobility and web services, or APIs, and these are the technical names for what has been inserted into the software as an industry standard set of technologies. They're the tools that enable the database, the application to be able to talk to things outside of itself. So mobile phones, websites, cloud-based services, EDI applications, other data sources. It's these web services and APIs that enable us to interface to other things outside of the system with less technical programming is really what it boils down to. Okay, I'd like to start by doing a little bit of navigation, learn how to get around in the system. We're actually looking at Macola 10 right at the moment. I'm logged in as Ron Calley. You see him in the upper right corner there, and we're actually getting to this by going to a URL or a website. Now, this could be internal to your business or it can be exposed to the outside world. We're looking at Ron's desktop, and everything below this gray bar that we're seeing on top is unique to him. It's a desktop that he's set up and has tools that he needs to be able to do demonstrations. You may not see another one quite like it. But everybody will have this gray bar and all the features that are on that gray bar, so let's stop and focus on that for a moment. All the way over to the left-hand side, you get these three dashed lines. If I click on them, it shows me what I like to refer to as the Everything About Me button. It will show me my calendar, my workflow, my documents, orders that I put in the system. It'll even track where I've been in history, and I have the ability to save favorites. Because everything on this is pretty much about me, I like to refer to this as the Me button because it's got everything about me on that tab. If I go all the way over to the right-hand side to modules, we're going to see all the major modules that we looked at in the PowerPoint presentation. We have our core ERP system, which is basically all of the transactional functions that affects finance. We have all the supporting applications around it. We have an HRM element to this, we have CRM, we have workflow, document management, and so on. In back of all these buttons are the features and setups and reporting tools available to the system. You may not use all of those. You may use only a select few and you want to bring them out to your desktop. Next button over is Create, enables me to create a new account, new document, new order in the system, what have you. If I go and create an account from here, it's going to ask me what type of account I want to create. Be aware this is multi-divisional, so if I want to create an account for company number 1, I can. If I wanted to create an account for company number 2, all I have to do is select that up top, go and click on the Next Customer button. It takes me to the next screen to enter a new customer. So that's the Create button. In the center of the screen is a search engine, and we can search by a variety of different data topics here. Now we're searching by accounts right at the moment. If I start typing the word bike, it'll start identifying accounts that have the word bike in it. If I hit an enter to that, it's going to give me a list of all the accounts that have that word bike inside of it. It doesn't care whether it's a customer or whether it's a prospect or a reseller or a supplier. It'll list them all out for me. I can filter them later if I wanted to. Now, if I knew what account number I was looking for, I could just type account number 902 and go directly to Bikorama's account card. Their account card here is fairly informative. We have all the basic information of their names and address. We have the ability to click on the mapping tool, takes us out to Google Maps. I do have the ability to be able to see multiple contacts. I can have unlimited number of contacts attached to this card, and I can also drill into those contacts and be able to get to details about that specific contact. Now, as I'm working with this, any link I find back to Bikorama will take me back to that particular account. We have detail here in the financial section, which is their terms and their credit limits and details like that. I can also see if they're associated with any of my other divisions. If I have other legal entities that I support, I can have this customer associated with them. Up in the top, we have the marketing detail where you're able to see, how long they've been a customer, how big they are, maybe, how they came to us, what sector, subsector they're in, and the reporting that or the information we get from this section feeds reporting that's inside of the system. I also have the ability to track relations, so I can see that they don't necessarily buy from us. They buy from a company called Bicycle Stop, and they're also owned by Outdoor Adventure Outlet. You can keep track of notes down here as to information you might want to have while you're talking to them on the phone. But I think probably one of the most important parts about this is this area up top called the monitor section. This enables me to link out to other things in the system that are related to this account. So if I were to click on orders, I'd be able to see a list of all of the orders that they've had in the system. If I want to kind of play with the radio buttons here, I can say I only want to see historical orders, or I only want to see open orders, and I can kind of toggle back and forth between these. Now I can drill into each order individually. Again, any link I find back to Bikorama will take me right back to that account card. Now, in addition to orders and quotes, which are transactional to the account, we also have the ability to store documents and or workflow to it, which we talked a little bit about in our PowerPoint presentation. So if I click on documents, I'm going to see documents related to this customer. Now, some of these are documents that our automation system has been sending out, where again, some of them might be documents that our customer has sent us. For instance, an engineering design drawing that we're working with. So it gives you a place to contain that information all in one place and be able to have it accessible rather quickly from the account card. Now, in our PowerPoint, workflow is kind of the replacement for a paper process. So if I go and click on workflow here, we're going to see things that have been going on with this account. Now, maybe we've had somebody go out and do a repair. We have a demonstration that we have a sales call that we're scheduled for. We're doing some quoting with them. They've had a customer complaint down here, I can see, where they've had maybe a air compressor that Sally George, the contact over there, was saying was broken or something, or damaged in shipment is the complaint. And this would be tracked inside of here rather than inside of maybe email or in a paper process. Clicking back on the Macola icon on top takes us back to the top desktop. Now I can kind of switch out from here and say I'd like to go and look at items in inventory, and maybe I want to look up an SLE series of air compressors. And this is an item that we sell as a finished good, so I might have an image of it. I might have details in here that you might normally see on your website. But I also have the ability to say, have I had orders for this? Do I have a bill of material for it? Have we had production or work orders for it? And we can kind of click into the bill of material and see the details of that. We can say, have we had any production orders for it? I should be able to drill into those production orders as well and be able to drill to those down to the level of those orders directly. Again, any documents that might be related to this, we're seeing the same kind of a monitor section that we saw on the customer card. These are throughout the system. So as I click on documents here, we might have sales information, fact sheets to send out. We might be tracking change notifications from engineering, lots of different ways of gathering things in there. Now, we also have the ability to say, have we had any workflow related to this item? Now, if I click on it, we can see we've had bunch of sales calls about it. I've had some complaints. I've had some damaged in shipment with a variety of customers, so we may want to look into that. But this gives you the ability to be able to see throughout the system using this search engine that's up top and kind of filtering back and forth upon it. Now, this is not only just a search engine, it also becomes a report writer for people who maybe don't know how to write reports. So if I wanted to maybe do some selections here, I'm going to say I want to search for customers, and we'll select customers here in the country of US, and specifically in the state of Texas, and just hit show. I'm going to get a listing of all my customers in Texas, the fields of which I'm returning I can adjust, and I can then in turn export this directly out to Excel. So rapid access to data both ways. The other area on this gray bar and above it is Ron Calley's account card. This is his human resource record. If I were to drill into this, we'd see details about it. Notice he has a monitor section with documents and workflow. We may see some personal information, but that's only available to his manager or to somebody in HR. But it does maintain records about the individual. So that's the gray bar and how to get around a little bit inside of the system. We've kind of touched on inventory items and customers and documents and workflow. What is below the gray bar is a workspace, and you would have an individual workspace for yourself. You can either use one that's canned or one that you've set up yourself. An example of that, if I were to go and click on sales support here, I'm going to log in as Robin Smith. You'll see her name pop up in the top right. Now she's got a desktop here that I consider is for a power user. She's got about 24 hotkeys we're seeing over here on the left-hand side. She's been able to design these herself, and she can move them around and she can change the color of them if she'd like her workflow on top and her favorites below. She pretty much just has to do that. Now, the advantage to these buttons is that they're giving you rapid access to the system. So with one click, I can go and enter a sales order. Whereas if I were to go find that in a menu pick, I might be going to modules, to core ERP, to the order entry, to sales orders. She shortened that whole process up. So these buttons are all rapid access to her. This is an example of somebody who designed their own workspace. It's not hard to do. It's kind of fun to work with. Another example of a workspace might be a process flow like we're seeing here. Now, this covers a lot of functional areas of the business. It goes from order entry to receiving cash, but the idea is that you can take a process and block it out so that people know how to do it. It can be used as a training tool. So I could enter an order or enter a quote. I could buy or build something to be able to fill that. I could pack it, ship it, bill it, and invoice it. Hopefully someday receive cash on it, all from within about a 6 by 6 inch square section of my screen. So that's an example of a workspace. I'll go over to one that's maybe a little bit more metric driven. We'll log in as Joe over here in finance, and he's got a couple of shortcuts on his desktop for things he does, like adjusting standard cost or printing invoices or billing, things that are related to his job function. We're also seeing some what we call web parts that are dropped in. We're seeing an executive scorecard here with all of these colored icons that are on it. We're also seeing a view of his control accounts, which are major accounts in the general ledger. Now, the idea of these is that they're live to the moment, and you can also drill into them. So if I see something interesting here, like this $54 million of projected order revenue, I might be able to drill into that, open up a sales dashboard, and have that sales dashboard give me detail specifically about that 54 million. So as I look at this, I could say I'd like to see the orders and I can view the details of them. Or I could see, possibly how my sales reps are doing and get the numerics from that. I can also see that my August is closing on a better August this month or this year than it was August of last year. I can see my top 10 customers and I can also see my top 10 items that they've been buying from us. So one of the examples of this would be, let's say, Dove Equipment Corporation here. If I didn't know very much about them, I might be able to drill into that account and Google it, see who they are and where they are. I could also say, well, how are they doing with my business and run maybe a customer snapshot, which we'll try right now. We're going to drill into Dove Equipment and get a deeper view of exactly what they're doing with us. So I can see their July and August are a little bit less than they were last year, and maybe it's 6th of August. We're going to be doing a little bit better then. I can see what they're buying from us. They're mainly buying these air compressors from us. They owe us $202,000 in outstanding AR in these 30 to 90 day buckets, and their average days to pay are 40 days. I can see also what they bought dollar-wise last year and as compared to what dollar-wise this year. I can also see they have multiple orders in the system that are open, and I can drill in, drill into those orders. I can drill into those orders and be able to look at the details of those orders inside of here. So the point is that you can take your workspace, build it any way you kind of want, and have metrics on here that you can drill deeper into to be able to reveal things that normally you end up seeing in printouts. So that's a little bit of navigation in Macola 10. We talked about the gray bar and the features on it and the workspace technology that drives the rest of the system. And from here, we'll move on into another topic. The next area we're going to touch on is workflow and document management. Workflow gives us the ability to take our paper processes and put them in an electronic engine and have them travel through the system and to the people that need to see them. Document management has the ability to be able to track documents that are related to your customers, your vendors, your items, either documents you've brought in or documents they've sent you, or even documents the system has sent out to the customer. So in the example that I'm going to try first off, we're going to go and create a new workflow request. And the request type that I'm going to create is a complaint because I'm on the phone right now with Dove Equipment Corporation. Their account number is 2033. I'm speaking with a contact over there called Javier, and he's got a problem with something that was damaged in shipment. And it might be related to a bicycle that we sent him, so we'll type that part number in. And Javier sent me an image of that box that was damaged, so I might reach out to my computer and grab an image of that. I could timestamp it and leave notes here if I wanted to. Now, the whole idea of workflow is it replaces paper process. So everything you're seeing here is configured based upon the fact that I want to be able to track complaints. And the first 5 fields or so that we see is what I need at the initial onset of this. Now, all of this is like silly putty, so you can kind of squeeze this into any shape that you want. You can change how it works. It's actually fairly simple to work with to construct different types of workflows. But I'm going to end up creating this workflow, and it's going to travel to a group of people to handle who are in the role of customer manager. And when it's completed with them and they've solved the problem, it's going to return back to me, Ron Cali, to call Javier and tell him we've solved his issue. So as I hit create, you'll see that this workflow disappears and goes away. If I go up to the Everything About Me button up top, you see it's lit up with a red 197. That means I got 197 incoming tasks in my workflow. If I go and look at what they are, we see this damaged and shipment complaint sitting right on top. That's with an adventure bike, it's with Dove Equipment, and I can drill into this and see what's going on with it. Right now it's sitting at several different people's desks. You can see that up top here, and we've opened up some more fields here to be able to work with this. They kind of open up as you go through different stages. Now, I could assign this to somebody and it would drop off of everybody's workspace, or I could assume this and it would drop off of everybody but mine, or I could remark or CC somebody to bring them into this conversation. At this step, we're going to end up assuming this. So I'm going to work on this myself. And right now, I've talked to Javier. This has become urgent, and I'm going to need to let him know by tomorrow what's going on with this. And at this point, he's not very happy with me. Again, all of these are configurable. So I'll end up assuming this, and you'll see that it dropped off everybody's workspace, and I can start to work with it. So I might go and take a look at the damaged box that they have. He sent us an image of that, and I can see that, the box got crushed in shipping. Okay, that's probably not the fault of the customer, or maybe the carrier. And I can say, well, we had that problem a lot with Dove Equipment. I could use these links to be able to go to Dove Equipment's account card, look at their workflow, and see have they had many damaged and shipment complaints. Well, not a lot, but here's the one from today. I could say, well, have we had that problem a lot with the bike? And I could go to the bike card itself, take a look at its workflow, and see that, wow, we have had a lot of damaged and shipment complaints. So maybe the proper answer here is to crate this instead of sending it out in a cardboard box. So I'm going to say that we will end up sending him a new one. And I'm going to realize this. It sends it to the person who created it, and pretty much that. Now, all of this becomes reportable. So if I were to go and search on requests that are out there that are maybe the type that were complaints, I could actually set the type up here to be a complaint and see how many of those I've had and be able to in turn show, I've had a whole bunch of complaints. Some of them are open still. Some of them the customer's been satisfied. Some they haven't. And I can export that out into Excel to make pretty little pie charts and graphs for upper management. So that's what workflow is about. Now, it also gives us the ability to work with your calendar. So if I were to go take a look at my calendar, and if I was a salesperson, I could say that here is my planning calendar for the entire year. And today being the 7th of August, I might set up a sales call that I'm doing. Let's just say I'll go out and visit one of my accounts. I'll go out and visit Dove Equipment Corporation. I'm going to go see Javier again about bike damage. Let's just say that. And I might say it's related to that particular bike that we sold him, is that bike AS, and I can timestamp this. But the whole purpose of this is it's scheduling something on my calendar to go out to Dove Equipment Corporation and speak with Javier about bike damage. And I can drill into this and be able to see what's going on with it. I can drill to Javier's account card, get his phone number, contact him. And that's the basis for workflow. It's also the basis for CRM inside of Macola. So a very powerful tool worth mentioning. We're going to see some of that as we're doing some order processing. Next area I want to touch on is document management. And if I just go and search for something that may be the word invoice, I could type invoice in here and I'm probably going to surface way more invoices than I ever wanted to see. Or I could say, you know what, I knew the invoice number. I'm going to type a wildcard, hit 501, and I'm bringing up the two invoices that I had for AccuSport Corporation, and I could drill into those invoices, be able to view those invoices and see exactly what they are, and then send a copy of this to the customer. Now, I've searched for that by the search engine up top here, but we did see that come up listed associated with AccuSport. So if I went to AccuSport's account card, I should be able to see that document, invoice 501, right here, sitting on their account card. So I can get to it a lot of different ways. This also becomes somewhat of a knowledge base. So let me just type the word help, for instance, in here. Now, it indexes on a daily basis all the documents and the attachments. So it's found the word help somewhere deep inside this document, and I can search based upon that. So documents can be brought in related to a lot of different things. If I type maybe MSDS, I might be able to surface a document that is an MSDS sheet for carbon, be able to view the detail of that. Now that may be associated to some of the raw materials that you're buying, but you have a place to store those things as well. Bringing documents in is fairly easy. We do have the ability to do version control in here. So if you have something like a manual, be it your human resource manual or your quality manual, you should be able to pull that manual up and be able to see that we have one version that our employees can look at, but there may be multiple versions out there that we've retired. And if you're an administrator or a document administrator, you should be able to surface all the other versions and be able to see what versions came before it and what might be pending approval. Version 1.4 is pending approval. So we have a lot of the functionality that you expect in a document management system, being it version control, being indexing, check-in, check-out functionality. And that again will play a part as we walk through the rest of this demo as tools that support your transactional ERP system. In this next section, we're going to walk through a quote-to-cash process in Macola 10. And in order to do that, we're going to incorporate our mobile ability. So we're going to take a look at what this looks like, maybe inside of an iPad or a tablet type device. So let me see if I can display this up on my screen, show you exactly what I'm looking at. So the features that we've been looking at in Macola 10 are available to you on a mobile environment if you expose your website to the outside world. With that said, I can go and search around for things that I've looked at recently. If I want to go to my history, I can pull up an account that I've touched recently, like maybe Dove Equipment Corporation. Be able to touch on their account number, get directly to their account card. I could get to Javier's contact, look up his contact information from here, or I could go to their orders and review what orders they may have in the system. I can even enter a new order with the buttons that we see up top. So if I click on that, you can see we enter into a web-based order entry screen. That's all fine. What I'd like to do is I'd like to touch on some of the new features that our development team has put out. And one is a new interface for order entry. So we're going to touch on new 10.7 interfaces that we have here. We'll go to customer orders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a quote type order to begin with for this. Now it does have type ahead search, so as I start looking for accounts that are in here and um, type in the word Dove for Dove Equipment Corporation, it should be able to identify that account and bring that account up so I can select that. Once I've done that, I have the ability to in turn set dates and purchase orders if I happen to be doing a sales order, commission breakdown. I'm going to add an item to the order or to the quote at this point. We're going to look for an SLE series of air compressors, and I want the 30 horsepower one, so let's try it by 30 horsepower. And there it is. So we'll put that on the quote. And we're going to kind of set this to be maybe a rush order where the promise date is all for today and the ship date will be today or sooner. And we're going to add that basically to the quote. So we now have that item on the quote, and we should be able to submit this and have it come back with quote number for us. Okay, so it's quote number 315. I go up to the top and we go look for customer orders again. Here's quote number 315 down at the bottom. We'll go and select that, and I could review the details of this. And of course, we can turn this sideways if we want to see it in a landscape format. But they're going to get an air compressor, a 30 horsepower air compressor, and I can take that and end up converting that to a sales order. So would you like to convert this? Yes, I do. And this should come back and give us a sales order number for this particular quote. So we've got sales order number 1275 is in the system. And I know that when I put in an order with the dates all set to ship for today, it might be treated as a rush order. These are some features that you can have turned on that automation will pick up on and maybe notify people that these orders are in place. So I'm going to step out of my mobile device at this point and go back over to my regular desktop, and we'll take a look at what that's all done. So by entering that order on our mobile device, we should be able to see that in Macola under Dove Equipment's account. So we'll go and take a look at that. Here we're seeing order number 1275 put in today for one of those air compressors. If I drill into it, we can see the air compressor listed on the bottom. Notice the quantity that I have on order is the quantity to ship. I have none of these in stock. So we just drill into the item itself and go to the item card of this, and I'm going to just go and take a look at inventory. So in any of my warehouses, I do not have any of them in stock. I do have an allocation for one of them, which is the order that we just put in. Now, this item itself has a bill of material that's got several subcomponents of it, some of which I manufacture, some of which I need to purchase, and I know I don't have any of these components in stock either. So what we're going to do is we're going to log in as somebody in purchasing. We'll open up Jack Davis's desktop here, and he may get a heads up alert in his workflow here that he's got an incoming order It's a rush order. If I click on that, it'll show that workflow, and if I wanted to, I could go and see the actual order that we're working with, and it's for that SLE series of air compressors. So Jack knows he's going to have to check his materials and see if he's got what he needs for that. And normally MRP runs on a daily basis and takes care of these things, so I'm going to run an MRP by date report. We'll take a look for that series of air compressors, exactly what it is that we need. So as I look at this report, it's got a lot of data on here, but if I go to the last page, I can see that we have a sales order, customer order, COO 1275, that was put in today. It created a production work order, number 509, and it's that production work order that's driving the requirements for all of the components that we need for this particular build. So with that said, we need to order these components. So step out of this. We're going to take a look and see if the system will tell us about purchase orders that we need to order to get those components in place. That's the TS series of air compressors. So we'll end up typing TS into here. And those are the components that we need to order to be able to get this thing built. So what we're going to do is end up selecting this order and have the system create a purchase order for all the components that I need for those raw materials. And as I step out of this, it's going to confirm, do I want that done? And yes, I do want a purchase order created for it. So it's going to go and create that PO. As I go back to my desktop, I should be able to go and take a look at purchase orders and see that we have an unreleased PO for Shimani Corporation. It's probably the highest number I have in the system. So here is a unreleased PO for Shimani Corporation for those components. And I'm going to end up releasing this order, save it, step out of it. It'll ask me to print that order. We'll allow it to print that so we can get that out to the vendor. Now this could be sent automatically through automation, but we're going to allow it to print that purchase order. Let's see that in front of us and be able to say that yes, that printed correctly. That's PO number 638. And as I step out of it, it's going to ask me, did it print correctly? It's kind of the last step you need before you end up trying to receive product on it. So we're going to go through the receiving process, and I'll receive PO 638. So we get those components in stock so our production team can work with it. So 638, and I'm going to receive these as ordered. So it's going to receive all of the lines in a complete step-by-step process. So allow it to do that. And it's going to go in for today's date. Now I could put in my packing slip and freight bill information if I wanted to. We're just going to save out of that. You see it step through the different lines of the purchase order, receiving those components. Now Jack is pretty much completed with this. He's done in the purchasing department. He knows he's got the material in-house. So we're going to move over to our production team. We're going to log in as our production manager. That'll be Bruce Huntington. And as we log into Bruce Huntington's desktop, we can see he's got that same heads up alert over here for a rush order. And he knows, based upon the material that is going to be manufactured, that this is going to be manufactured through the production order processing manufacturing method in Macola. That would be this one here. And we'll talk a little bit later about the difference between that and shop floor, but he knows that item will automatically create a POP order or production order processing order for it and tie it to that customer's account. So here is order number 509. We can see it's for the SLE series of air compressors. If I drill into this and open up that order, we should be able to see the detail of that order. It is tied to customer 203. It's tied to sales order 1275 and also the line. And I can also see the bill of material that's related to it, which we just got the components in for. So I'm going to end up releasing this order to production, allow it to print whatever production work orders we may have for it, and that'll kind of get the materials being pulled and in place for the production team to start working with it. So here's our work order. We can have detailed production instructions down here, but these are the components that need to be pulled. With that said, we've now got that order out there and released. As I refresh my screen, you'll see that that order's been released and has been printed. And I should be able to drill into that order and report production on it. So we'll go and do that now. That was order number 509. and we're ready to report production on it, but I want to add some labor to this, or value-added costs, and we could have this baked into the bill of material. I'm going to do it manually on the fly here so you see it can be done. We're going to go in and grab a certain type of labor cost, specifically assembling overhead, and we might say that they spent 45 minutes installing the components that put together that build. To step out of this, we've associated labor to this. I'm going to say the order is complete. And as I hit save, we're going to see the inventory transaction of this going into stock. Now, this is a serialized or lotted item, so as I do this, we're going to see it picks a unique lot number, serial number for this, and it has assigned that to it. So as I say OK to this, we'll see that that actually completes the inventory function and puts that production order into stock. And we'll step out as Jack. We're kind of completed as Bruce. We're kind of completed as the production manager, and we're going to end up logging in as somebody who might be in the shipping department, because right now the production team is rolling that air compressor down to be shipped. So I'm going to log in as Peter Bailey here in shipping, and he may, of course, get that heads up alert message that we see here. But he's going to open up what might be his shipping lineup for today. And this will give him a view of all the orders that need to go out, and we can kind of refine this down so that he's only looking at things that need to go out for this particular week. And refresh his screen. So now we're going to look at the one order, number 1275, that was built on manufacturing order number 509. We see that here. And notice that the quantity to ship has been updated. As we produced that product, it went to the sales order and updated the quantity to ship to the quantity we've actually manufactured. Now I've got my system here set up to require confirm ship, which means that it'll relieve the inventory out of stock before you do the invoicing process. That's a choice, but I'm going to go through that step right here. We're going to grab order 1275 and confirm ship that order. It's going to confirm that we have everything we need for this. I'm going to say we're going to ship everything on this order for today's date, and it's going to verify I'm picking the right serial number for it, which I have. As I step out of that, it's going to put that on that sales order as confirmed ship. As I step out, you may see a screen here for putting in some shipping costs that are involved. We'll just throw $100 in on that and step out of it. So that has confirmed ship, and in Peter's screen here, as he refreshes it, we should see this change from a booked order to an order that has been confirmed that it has shipped. We're kind of complete with that function at the moment. So we'll log out as Peter and go in as somebody else to complete the sales process. So we're going to end up selecting this order for billing. We're going to print the invoices on it, and we're also going to then in turn post it. And I'm going to kind of use a process flow here for this. So for billing and invoices, the first thing that I needed to do was confirm ship, and my shipping department has done that. I may in turn select that order for billing, and that'll be order number 1275. And we'll say that we're going to save that, bill everything on that order, and say OK. And we have seeing now the detail of the shipping charges, the freight charges. We're also seeing sales tax being calculated and commission for the salesman. Say save on that. We've confirmed that that order has been billed. Next step would be to print the invoice on it and post that invoice. So I'm going to print every invoice that's out there. I only have one that's in the stage of ready to go. So we should be able to see that sales order, number 1275, invoice 683, is printed correctly. We'll step out of this. It'll confirm that that printed correctly. It's kind of your last chance before you end up posting this order. And we'll end up posting that order to the general ledger. And there's order 1275 posting to the GL. Now, from here, the next step might be to receive cash on it. So we'll say that we're going to receive maybe some cash entry to this. I'll create a new cash entry screen. And I can pick a bank that I'd like to go to, or you can have a default. And we'll say that this customer has sent us $30,000. And we might make a reference to this, but the check number 587. Deposit number, I usually like to use the date, so 8/8/2018, and we'll say that that date is for today as well. We're going to end up associating this to the particular customer's account. So this was Dove Equipment Corporation 2033, And we have journalized that cash receipt entry, and now I want to actually match it to the invoice. So we'll go and click the matching button here. On the left-hand side, it should have highlighted the $30,000 that we brought in. If I wanted to reverse sort possibly my invoices, so I'm seeing the newest one up top. Here's the invoice for today for $28,720. Notice I have noticed an overpayment here by the customer. It's going to ask us what we want to do with that when we go to match and process it. So we're going to match and process that invoice. It's going to ask us how we'd like to deal with the $1,280. We're just going to leave this as a prepayment on their account. Hit process to this. Those two transactions should disappear. And we've now just completed a cash receipt process in Macola 10 for that invoice that we just invoiced out. So that kind of completes the order to cash or quote to cash process in Macola 10. In this last section, I just want to point out the two different manufacturing methods that are available for you in Macola 10. So if we log in as our production manager, Bruce here, we're able to see he has the choice of being able to create pop orders or shop floor orders. Now, we created in the last quote to cash a production order processing order for that SLE series of compressors. And basically it was an assembly that required some things bolted together and maybe 45 minutes worth of time. So there wasn't any routing steps or steps of operations necessary for it. And we kind of completed that by just associating the time necessary for it, and maybe there was some work instructions. So that's what production order processing is all about. With shop floor, you can do things a little bit differently. You have the availability of being able to add routings into it and be able to have those routings go through different work centers. So if we were to go take a look at shop order number 402 here and open that order for detail, we can see some information about it, maybe the last 5 times that I've built this order and maybe what its variances are inside of here. I also have the material pick list to which I can see the components that went into it and how many have been issued to that job. And I'm also seeing the bill of routings or the steps involved in getting the product manufactured. So cutting and finishing, welding, threading, these are all happening in Department A and maybe in a specific work center. Then we may end up moving to a different department or work center for the priming and painting functions. And we end up at assembly, which is Department B, and work center assembly, and then maybe a final assembly section here and quality inspection. So in each one of these, we have the ability to be able to report production, report labor, on this particular step. Now, some of these may be production labor involved in the operator's time, or it may be machine time that we're reporting in it. In either case, this gives you the ability to do more complex manufacturing and to be able to bring detail into the work orders for step-by-step instructions, reporting of both labor and machine time on a step-by-step or operational basis. And all of this goes in turn to feed the manufacturing modules and the financial results of a work order inside of Macola 10. I just wanted to leave you with that thought that there are some choices inside of here, and I appreciate your time in taking a look at Macola 10 today. We've just lightly touched on some of the modules that are inside of this application, and if you'd like further demos, please contact the sales department at Macola for those demos. Thank you.